Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome to the show. This noon edition of Sports with Strawberry Ice. I'm your host, the Iceman, Jeff Trunapole. And as always, I'll bring you sports from a West Side point of view right here in the great city of Cincinnati, Ohio, home of the 11 straight winning, going for 12, Cincinnati Reds and first place Cincinnati Reds. How cool does that sound? Now, do me a favor. If you found the show, hit that like and subscribe button. Smash that thumbs up. You guys are awesome. I'm up to 2,226 subscribers. I got to write it down all the time. I got to keep adding subscribers, so I appreciate you guys. But if you're watching on Facebook or Twitter and you have yet to subscribe to my channel, why not? 2,226 people have. You should too. So if you haven't, go to the YouTube channel, Sports with Strawberry Ice. Hit the subscription button, hit the bell for the notification. And every time I go live, you'll be notified. Also, exclusively in the YouTube chat crew. We're doing super chats. So if you got a question you want to ask about the streaking Cincinnati Reds or a question you want to ask Gary Miller, where he'll jump on about 12:05, give me a super chat. I would greatly appreciate it. And as always, I'm coming to you live from this glorious place down here. It's the Ice Cave. The Ice Cave is brought to you by T Properties. T Properties, quality housing for quality people. Check out the website at www.tpropertiesllc.com for all your rental property management needs and your rental needs. All right, guys, we got a whole 8 people watching right now. It's a ton here. Oh, I forgot about this. I had to do Jackpot Joey. I wear it every single day, except for today. We're red stuff. I got the flag. We got the hats. We got the shirts. We got the beer coming back out sometime. I don't know when. But if you are interested in supporting the greatest quarterback in the league, his name is Joe Burrow. We like to call him Jackpot Joey. Go to jackpotjoey9.com and you can make your purchases there. Portions of the proceed go to the Joe Burrow Hunger Relief Foundation and the Joe Burrow Foundation. As you guys know, we had the Jackpot Joey golf outing a couple months ago. We were able to donate a check of $10,000. That was awesome. We have a cornhole tournament coming up here in August at Brink Brewery. Get more details soon. I'll be able to tell you when and where and all that stuff. But 100% of that is going to go to the Joe Burrow Foundation as well. So, like I said, we got a whole 2 people watching now. It's what down. Strangers in the comments. What is going on? All right, guys. So, we have the streaking Cincinnati Reds going for 12 in a row. Now, the thing is, I know nobody thought that they would be going for 12 in a row. I sure as heck didn't. Also, the Atlanta Braves they're on that winning streak themselves for 8 in a row. Now, people ask me, because I've been kind of hard on the Reds. I mean, I did not like the rebuild. I did not like all the stuff. I was under the impression that, well, I'm not under the impression. Every time they've ever done this before, it's never worked or they've never stuck with it. Right now, it's working. And it seems like that they're going to stick with it. You've got Elly De La Cruz, Matty Betts, Matt McLean, Steer, Abbott, another one. You got 4 guys who just come out of the woodwork and are playing awesome. Now, they're in first place on January. What is today? I keep saying January. Today is July. What is the date today? 23rd. On July 23rd, if I would have told you beginning of the year, July 23rd, the Reds would be on a 12-game winning streak, not a 12-game losing streak, and be in first place by a game and a half, you would have probably tried to get me into a mental hospital because you said, there's no way, Strawberry. That's crazy. But that's what's actually happening. Now, will they keep this up? I don't know, but this is a big series coming out, and the town is going nuts right now. I think that all 3 games are pretty much sold out. I think it's just single seats, single tickets left available for, I know for tonight, I think for Sunday, and I think for Saturday as well, but I definitely know for tonight. Now, I'll preface this, and I'm not trying to be a downer at all, but the thing that does worry me is our starting pitching. Now, I said this at the beginning of the season. It's going to be a big time. The biggest thing this year, I thought, was to find out about Hunter Green, Nick Lodolo, and Ashcraft. Those 3 guys. I said, we're going to go how those guys pitch. Well, Ashcraft has been a dumpster fire. Lodolo is pitched good till he got hurt. Now, Hunter Green's hurt. All of a sudden, we got Abbott, who's pitching awesome with first 3 starts with no earned runs. Gave up 3 solo shots his last game, kept them in the game, and let them win or help them win. The thing is going down the stretch right now, we don't have these guys. Do you think it's time for the Reds to make a trade? Now, Nick Krall has come out and said that they're open for trades, but I don't think they're going to sell the farm for trades. You know, they want to win this year because they're excited about what happened, but I think they're still going to stick with the plan. Now, the one thing that I am hoping, or what needs to happen, Ashcraft, I think, is pitching Sunday. Hopefully this rest he got from the disabled list, because you guys remember a couple weeks ago, he took a shot off his calf, I think it was. And so it's a good excuse to put him on disabled list, give him a mental break, be able to work on some stuff on the side. Hopefully he can come back and pitch like the Graham Ashcraft that we're all used to seeing. We need, that has to happen, because this starting rotation basically are 5-inning pitchers. You know, they are going to wear the bullpen out. You can tell Diaz the other night got the bases loaded, got the save, but was wore out. He did that day off. So that's what I'm saying is they're going to go how the starting pitching goes. And right now the starting pitching is keeping them in games, but I think they need to extend them. They need to pitch into the 5th, 6th, 7th inning, something like that, to hopefully save the bullpen son. Anyway, we can discuss this as we go on. He has shown up. He's shown up on his day off. I appreciate Gary Miller. I know he tried to come on Tuesday, but then the Canadian Cowboy went off, and Gary had to go do his job. Channel 12 wanted to go be live at GABP and not be a Strawberry Show. I know. I mean, you got to have priorities. I understand, you know, your job over my podcast. But he's in the waiting room. Let's get to him. He's Gary Miller from Local 12. Gary, what's going on, man?
Hey, good to be with you.
Good. Just doing a little Reds conversation here, and with the big series coming up, I've been talking that we're all shocked about how the Reds are doing. I don't think any of us thought July 23rd we'd be, you know, a half a game in front, in first place in the NL Central. I think these series are huge. With Atlanta coming in, they got an 8-game winning streak. We got a 12-game winning streak. I think my personal opinion is I think we're going to find out what this team's made of. What is this, a do or die couple of series here? Or what's your thoughts about the Reds right now and the series coming up?
I wouldn't say it's do or die because they're still in the NL Central. So, right. And they're missing Strider and Elder,
right,
from the Braves.
Good.
just like they missed Jordan Alvarez from the Astros series.
Right.
But and then, you know, Baltimore, I think it's a legitimate team. So, and it's a road series. So I think that's a legitimate test. But I think it's more of a measuring stick, and certainly better than the Rockies. I mean, the Rockies, as I mentioned last night, they've provided half of this Braves win streak. They got outscored 40-12 in Atlanta before they came to Cincinnati. So that's a bad club that was missing the few pieces that they have. So I think it's going to be great to see if they can carry this, you know, what the day off will mean. I don't know if you want a day off in the middle of a streak this hot, but seemed to work out before they hit Houston. I just think and of course they didn't play well against Atlanta when they saw them at their place in April. So we'll see how far they've come.
And the last time I started getting excited about this, we went and the Brewers came in town, and we got close. And if we had swept them or won the series, we could have come out of their first place. Well, the Brewers kicked our ass. We won one game.
Right.
Now this team is different. Ellie De La Cruz wasn't there. Matt McClain wasn't there. But I personally think that the starting pitching is the Achilles right now. Which, if you asked me at the beginning of the season, I said we go how Hunter Green, Lodolo, and Ashcraft go. Well, the only one that's really been any consistent, and he's on the injury list right now, is Hunter Green. We didn't expect Abbott, but right now you got Abbott. I think Ashcraft is going to pitch on Sunday, from what I heard. I don't think it's been announced yet, but I think what everybody's thinking is going to happen. Do we make a trade? I mean, or do we just ride the wave till these guys come back? Because they are going to come back. I mean, hopefully Hunter Green will come back, but I know Lodolo is coming back.
Well, yeah, Lodolo, though, I would probably not till August, and who knows, by then, it's going to take the rehab, warming up process. And then even if he is available then when they first expect him to come back, you're talking about short outings, probably the first couple of times. So I'm not counting big on him. But, when Nick Krall said this week, hey, we're a first place team, are you going to be buyers or sellers? We still got a little over a month till the trade deadline. But I would think definitely they're going to go after the kind of guys that they normally do. It's interesting. They would be the team to acquire a Sonny Gray or a Wade Miley. I think the biggest roadblock to them is that both Central divisions, every team is still in it.
Right.
So they're not only not prone to give away guys like that because they could still win the division, they're also going after him too. And a team like St. Louis that's 8 games back, but still
don't count them
outsiders think that's one of the teams to beat.
All right.
They may beat you to some of these guys that are out there, and they may go to a higher level than the guys I'm talking about.
Yeah, exactly. I agree with what Keith is saying here. He said we don't need an ace, we need an innings eater as a starter.
Right.
Which I agree with that, but lots of people need that. And that, like you said, it's not like you can just go out there, because people keep saying go out and trade Nick Senzel, or Barrero, and go get you a pitcher. Which I agree. I think those two are definitely viable trade options, but you got to find a trade partner. And I don't know.
Right.
I know Jeff Carr from Locked On Reds, I think, is talked about Lance Lynn from the White Sox. I don't know if he's available, but I mean, that's kind of probably the pitching prospect. I don't say prospect, but type of pitchers I guess we're looking for.
Yeah.
Hopefully add.
I think you're looking, like a third or fourth starter whose contract is up. I don't know how. Well, I was going to say I don't know how Lance Lynn would play in Great American Ballpark, but Sox Park is even worse as far as giving up home runs.
Right.
So, and he seems to have settled down a little bit, though. He started off god awful, but I think that's what you get, because we're going to see this weekend against Atlanta. Can the Ben Lively thing continue? Will they score enough runs? That's one of the things that benefited Abbott, despite, along with not giving up any runs until the start of this week.
That helped a little bit.
Yeah, it's hard to beat him when he doesn't give up anything.
Right.
But he's got an enormous run support as well. But I think it's going to be interesting to watch. I think Abbott's the most dependable guy in the rotation right now.
Right. Yeah,
because of how smart he pitches. Mm-hmm. He doesn't have the stuff that the other guys do, but he's got great location, and I just love his poise. Fraley talked about it after the game when they completed the sweep, said, this guy pitches like that was the most impressive. He felt like that was more impressive than the 3 shutout performances, because he gives up 3 jacks and hung in there long enough for them to tie it, and then pitched the 6th inning where he struck out the side. And at that point, the Reds were ready to take over.
Yeah, exactly. I know. He said, they got the scoreless streak right out of the way. Right, first batter jacked a home run, but Abbott didn't care. I mean, I was like, oh man, they're with the streak. I'm upset as being a fan. Abbott's like, give me the ball. It didn't faze him. So that has been very impressive for me. I agree with you about Abbott. Now we do have I think his name's Connor. I can't remember. There's a strikeout pitcher we have in the minor leagues, AA. He's leading the minors and strikeouts. I can't remember.
Right.
Is there a chance that you think they might do what they did with Abbott? Because Abbott was in Double A. They brought him up for 1 or 2 starts at Triple A and brought him straight up. I mean, I'm kind of waiting for them to do that with this kid as well. What's your thoughts on that?
I think it's possible. I don't think it would come for, I think they would jump him to AAA first, and then, just like they did with Abbott, and see how that goes. And if it goes similar, what choice do you have? Because I don't think that Williamson and Lively are part of a rotation that's going to keep you atop the division for the rest of the season. I think they're more like spot starters. Lively's been great. I can't complain. And he's in a similar way to Abbott, although he's not nearly as effective. He's a gamer who will just battle and keeps you in it. With the way their offense is going, he's been good enough. So I would think that's a possibility. And I think also they've got to go after a veteran bullpen arm or two to add to this mix. I know they need another lefty. I don't know if Aroldis Chapman's the answer or not, but he seems to be reborn a little bit.
Yeah, do you think he'd fit in? Would he fit in with this bullpen? Because he wouldn't be the closer. I mean, I know he's not the closer in Kansas City, but I don't know. I'm not saying he wouldn't. I've just kind of heard some people question that if he'd fit in with this young team now.
It's interesting. We're seeing with Votto. Yeah, they don't have a veteran. I think it'd be interesting. I think Diaz would appreciate having him. And my concern about the bullpen, which has been great since it was, a house fire in April, is that Jabot and Young seem to be pitching every day. And you mix in Buck Farmer here and there, but they're going to wear down. It's still June. So that's why I feel like they got to get some more arms in there. And it seems like the way they kept Alexis Diaz out of the Astros series, and then kind of a shaky performance against Colorado in that last outing, that maybe he's getting some wear and tear too. So I think they need some depth in both the starters and relievers.
Yeah, exactly. That's kind of what I said before you came on here. That's what I'm concerned about, because our starting pitchers only go 5 innings. Diaz, like you said, he looked wore out against Colorado. He looked spent. I mean, he needed a couple.
Yeah, it wasn't just putting guys away. Normally, especially after you put 2 guys on, you think, okay, well, he's going to bow his neck, and these next 2 guys are meat. But he's not. He doesn't look like that at the moment. So maybe some rest. He hasn't pitched a lot this week. Obviously, didn't pitch in Houston, so maybe he'll be ready with this day off. But that's something to watch closely.
Yeah, and with the Reds taking on Atlanta, one of the best teams, if not the best team in the National League, we need all hands on deck. We need everybody coming firing at full strength. So I mean, like I said, this is going to be a very interesting series and how the Reds do. Now, this one thing I'm not going to take credit for this. I saw this on Facebook before we started, but Lance McAllister put this out. He said Friday will be the 3rd time in the last 100 years where teams start a head-to-head series on streaks of 8+ games. The Reds have won 11 and the Braves have won 8. So something's got to give. So you got 2 of the hottest teams going at it. So, I mean, this is, and Gary, there's single seat tickets left. I mean, that's like awesome.
Right, how about that?
I know. I mean, that's like people keep asking, like when the Bengals are going nuts, like, is this a football town or is this a baseball town? I'm like, it's a sports town. If you win, we will show up. I keep telling you, we sold out the Coliseum, and I'm going to date myself, call it the Coliseum, Heritage Arena, whatever you want to call it, for the Kelly Cup. When the Cyclones won the Cup, we sold that out. We sold out Nippert when when they win. I mean, we're selling out FC. I mean, shoot, the double dip the other day, they had like 50,000 people or something at the Reds game and at FC.
Right.
So it's a sports town. That's just, I mean, this whole, it's Bengals football. We like sports, man. We like winners. If you're a winner, we're going to come out and support you.
I think the other thing is that this is a really fun team to watch.
Yes.
And it seems like they keep adding these attractions. Votto's return, obviously Ellie De La Cruz 2 weeks before that. Abbott doesn't give up a run in his first 3 starts. Diaz is one of the more electric closers in the game. Matt McClain's making a Rookie of the Year campaign. So is Spencer Steer. Benson goes down, hitting about 100 and comes back as one of their best hitters. And it's just and then you got these, they're not currently pitching, Ashcraft and Green, but got 100-mile-an-hour pitchers. There's just something about this team and the energy. And I think people love rooting for young teams because they feel like that's their team. It's not like as great as 01 was when we had Castellanos and the veteran guys and a lot of spirit that year. It feels like those were imports. Those are guys that you bought from somewhere else or traded. Even Miley, as great a story as he was with his no-hitter, it's like somebody else's guys. These, even though there were a lot of acquired in trades, they were unknown to Cincinnati fans in their AA and AAA days. And now they're like pure Reds. They came up through our system. They belong to us. And plus you have holdovers like Senzel, Friedel sticking around. Fraley was in that trade. He hadn't done much with Seattle. He didn't have a name.
They just threw him in. He's been a godsend. He was just an extra piece they threw in, dude. I got a nickname. By the way, I got a nickname for him if you can use on air if you want. I've been calling him Rake Fraley.
Yeah, absolutely. Jake the Rake.
Yeah, because he's seriously, he's leading them in homers and he's so involved in everything. Like the catch he made in right field the other night at right center, I didn't know he had that kind of speed or that kind of coverage. I mean, he's just a very surprising player because you mentioned TJ Friedel and I was like Jake Fraley. I was talking to my son beginning of the season. He liked both of them, and I'm like, yeah, they're all right. I think they're more kind of future bench guys. I was wrong. TJ is your leadoff hitter.
Well, I want them to play more against lefties, but he's trying to get everyone some playing time, and he's doing it now on even a half game basis. David Bell talked about that the other day, that he's so appreciative. Like he takes Votto out of the last two games for either a defensive replacement or a pinch runner, and Votto being Votto, normally a guy with that stature wouldn't be too happy about that, but as he says, he just wants to fit in. Fraley and Friedel sat Monday. He didn't start. He came in as a defensive replacement. Then he has a 4-hit game. Then he hits the RBI that knocks in the tying run against Colorado. So it's amazing how these guys do have this team concept, and it really shows in that dugout celebration. I know almost every team's got one now.
We had the best one, dude. I love it.
Yeah, absolutely.
With the
greatest, it's two parts. Three parts. It's the fur cape with the helmet and whatever that red thing is.
I think it's a bat or something. But I mean, seeing Joey Votto wear that the other night, and he came out, did the curtain call with it, was just freaking unbelievable. And so get to Joseph Daniel Votto. I started calling him the Canadian Cowboy because of the the post or the red suit and the hat and everything. And just watching him come back, it has been awesome. And I was just surprised, Gary, how many Reds fans were messaging me and different things because I did a whole thing like I was happy to see Joey Votto back. They're like, oh, he's going to mess it up. He's going to mess the chemistry back. He's washed. I'm like, it's Joseph Votto, Joseph Daniel Votto. I mean, he's not coming back unless he's 100%. If you know anything about Joey Votto, he's not coming back unless he's 100%. And he said in the postgame, he told some of his closest friends that he's going to homer in either the first or second game. He did the second at bat, Gary. The second at bat. I mean,
smoked it too.
Oh, smoked it. Were you one that was, I don't know if I'd bring Joey Votto back, or were you like, it's Joey Votto? I mean, of course you're going to bring him back. Where were you at on that whole thing?
Well, I was, obviously last year wasn't good, and we don't know how much of that was the injury. Apparently a lot of it. And he had not done anything at Louisville to make you think, well, it's the old Joey Votto.
Right.
But then in that, so I'm very grateful that the first game back was as potent as it was, because now he's got a little bit of a leash, because the last two he hasn't done much.
Right.
Except get hit by a pitch a couple of times.
He kind of leaned in a little bit on that one.
Oh, yeah. It was in the strike zone. And the other one off his foot. So, but he has fit in because he made a point of it all the way back to spring training, where, they had this talent contest, And Joey, that was one of his first cowboy outfits, or actually, no, that was the Mexican thing, right?
Yeah,
Where but either way, he likes hats.
Great.
And he likes to sing and he likes to act. Obviously, you
Yeah.
could tell from his Instagram. So, from talking to the guys right before he came back, before he played that game, and especially after, they embrace him. He fits in as a piece they didn't really have with all these other guys, with that veteran presence. And he's not playing like, he's not acting like, oh, I'm Joey Votto. I've been here through all this. I've got all these franchise records. He's like, this is fun. I want to be part of this. And, I don't know. Did you see the exchange he had with the on deck circle the other day? With some fan posted, he was giving him, and Joey engaged him.
Yeah.
And the guy was saying, and his friend probably was recording it or something. And so he says to Votto, who actually talked to him from the on deck circle, not many players will do that. He said, I remember when you were good. And he said to the guy, I remember when you were thin. So they went back and forth a little bit. And Joey said, that, basically the difference is I'm out here and you're in there. And that's where you'll always be. And I'm ready to go up to hit. So that's been a great part of the late career Joey Votto has been the fan engagement. And it just escalates. It's just gotten more and more, especially with the social media contacts.
Oh, he's amazing. I mean, I've said that since he started doing the social media stuff. Beginning when he was a rookie, first 5 years, we didn't know Joey Votto. We didn't know. We thought he was this serious, baseball. Yep. He's a freaking goofball, man, and I'm here for it. I love it. Now, I have a question for you. So you had to go down to GABP and do some live stuff. I think that was Tuesday. What was the atmosphere like there the night after Joey Votto? Because I think you did like 4, 5, and 6, right? Didn't you? Weren't you down there live?
Yeah, for both Tuesday and Wednesday. What's great is to see. Obviously, we've seen the Votto jerseys for over a decade.
Right.
I'm wondering where some of these guys, immediately got De La Cruz jerseys.
We see
McLean.
Yep.
The only one I haven't seen, and this is the guy that I hope gets to come back and experience this. Stuart Fairchild hit 2 home runs during this, and fairly significant ones during this win streak. Somebody had to go. Obviously, Will Myers was one of them. So they lose the guy who won their, talk about bonding with this team, that talent contest, and then they had the 3-point shooting contest, which Myers won. But I think that was the logical move. But if we get any more guys coming activated, it's really going to be a tough decision. And I think Stu was a tough decision. He's played great. He's got speed. He plays a very good defensive outfield, and he's gotten some clutch hits. And I thought he was a great part of a platoon. But like I said earlier, I think Friedel and Fraley have to start playing against both righties and lefties.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I think you said we got talent. We still got CES down there, and I'm still waiting for them to bring.
Well, there's the one. That's going to be that's probably going to be where the 3-catcher thing goes. But
that's okay. I'm glad you brought that up. Are you surprised that they still have that? Because Stevenson, to me, I know he gets hurt. He's got to play catcher because I think he does. He hits better. It seems like when he's catching, he does okay DH. But he's a catcher. I mean, they can't put him at first base. We got Votto, we got Steer, we got CES that's got to play first whenever he comes up here. So that whole first base thing is done. I know they're trying to save him from injuries, but I think he's got to be your everyday catcher at this point. I don't know what else you do with him.
It's tough because Casali and Maile have both become kind of like the regular catchers for a couple of guys in rotation, Hunter Green and Abbott.
Right.
And I love what Maile's done.
Yes.
And thankfully finding a power group for a guy that big, I never understood why he didn't have many home runs in his career, but he's finding some of his power, and he's a great influence too. I was amazed at how horrendous some of the calls were on him Wednesday afternoon. And I would have been thrown out.
Gary, I was kind of live streaming the game. I was kind of, doing a little play by play or whatever. I didn't have the game on, but I'm like, all right, that's a ball 4. I'm like, what? I'm like, the one that
Twice he
TJ
got
Friedel,
that. And
what did TJ
Friedel
Friedel
too,
look
yeah.
by his eyeballs? I mean, I'm like, what are you looking at? Like, how do you get it that wrong? The umpiring this year has been horrible. That was
so
awful.
I think the thing, Ice, is that Stevenson's bat has got to be better.
Yeah.
It's they've been saying on the broadcast, so he's in a hot streak, but where's that power?
Right,
That's what they really need from him. He's getting on base, he's hitting singles, but I need the extra base hits from him, and I need him. The whole idea was, well, we want to preserve him, put him at first base, DH, get him in almost every game somehow. But it doesn't matter as much if he's hitting 243 and have 3 home runs that really haven't been of much consequence.
Yeah, that's been the most, I'll say, shocking part of the season, of the lack of production from Tyler Stevenson. Because beginning of the year, we're like, your 2 franchise guys are Jonathan India and Stevenson.
Right.
India's, adapted to bat number 3, which I think is a good move. But Stevenson just hasn't been there, and it hasn't. And that's where I kind of like, is him getting, because he's used to playing every day. I mean, since he's been up, he was our catcher. He played every day. Now he's not. He's either DHing or sitting, or the other guys have kind of replaced him as, like you said, a couple pitchers, number 1 catchers. So, this isn't. I don't want this to happen, but does that mean that maybe Stevenson is tradable? I mean, because you can go get a pretty good pitcher for Tyler Stevenson. I mean, I'm not saying do that. I'm just talking out loud.
I wouldn't trade him now because his value is not what it was.
Right.
And I think he'll come around. I mean, there's no doubt in his talent.
Oh yeah,
and
absolutely.
His size, his build, his acumen. And I remember talking to him in spring training about the switch, and he assured, or tried to underscore, "Oh, I'm a catcher. That's when I'm happiest. I want to, I'll do this other stuff for the team or whatever, and if it keeps me, healthier, that's great. But what I am a catcher." So, and I think that's part of why, now, especially with Votto back, and with Strand playing some first base, that now that's kind of gone away and he's catching more frequently, that I think that's part of why he's had a much better June than he did April and May.
Yeah, so I mean, eventually they're going to have to pick between Casale and Mahle. I hate to say I love Casale, but I think he's the one that's probably gone. Mahle has been a godsend, like you said, and I'm kind of reading the tea leaves about this whole America's team thing. It kind of sounds like he's the one that kind of started it, and some people don't get the whole America's team thing. They're saying it tongue in cheek, but it's also like, and they keep saying show up on time for the anthem, which I think is a David Bell rule, like the only rule David Bell has. Show up on time for the anthem, grind out at bats, play hard. That's what they mean by America's team. It's not, they're not trying, they're being silly about it, but they actually believe this stuff.
Right. Yeah. No, I think it's like an in-house joke. But now, of course, it's gotten national attention the way media is now. Right. And the fact that they're so hot that they're, and they got De La Cruz and they got Abbott and Votto comes back, they got a lot of attention on them. So when they hear these things or see that post-game interview with India and McLean saying that, and you see it nationally, Cowboys fans get upset and they say, well, what makes them think they're America's team? We don't even know who anybody is on that team besides Votto returning and Hunter Green throwing 100 miles an hour. But again, it just kind of grew. It's not what they meant.
Right.
But it's become like a team slogan. I've seen other team slogans that I can't repeat here or show on the air on T-shirts the other day about a certain squad that they have for the pregame rituals. But it's just more of how bonded they are.
Yeah.
And everyone buys in. There isn't one guy who's not. It's you could tell when you walk in a clubhouse. You just look around and it's just in their faces. They love coming to the ballpark. David Bell said that the other day, that he and all his coaching staff feel like that. That they love coming to the ballpark, and a lot of it's because of who they have on this team and how they make them feel and how they play.
It's infectious. I mean, hell, like I said, the Reds fans like coming to the ballpark. The game's always sold out.
Do they ever? I mean, try getting a seat this weekend.
Right. I mean, it sounds, and you always compare it to the most recent thing you have to compare it to. So I've been comparing it to the Bengals of 2021. And what you're just saying right there with camaraderie and how close that team is. How many times have we said that about the Bengals?
Yeah.
How close that team is? We're saying the same thing about the Reds. And the thing is, now, when you're winning franchise, winning organization, it makes it a lot more fun, obviously.
Right.
But it's not. But it's also you can just see the joy of how much they like each other. That's you always see that. I'll say that.
It's genuine, and they have, there's a lot of disparate personalities there, but because Fraley's kind of a laid-back, quiet, serious guy, but he fits right in as well as anyone. Friedel's kind of a goofy; he talks a lot. Yep. McLean doesn't talk a lot, but he's just a blood and guts, diehard lifer and baseball guy. At his young age, he already looks like he's been around forever, just like Abbott. So they all kind of fit together. And the thing that was amazing to me the other day, and I'm not sure how this came about because the Bengals are on their break right now, but Fraley mentioned that the Bengals have been showing the Reds tapes to show them, as an example. So I'm not sure. I know there's guys still working out and coming to the facility and stuff, even though they're on a break. So maybe it's showing them, but I'm trying to figure out how that exactly happened. But what does that say that the way you just described the Bengals, that now they're showing Reds tapes to show energy, camaraderie, team building, sacrifice for the team instead of the individual. So that's about as great a statement as you can make, because that Bengals team, even when they bring in new guys like Orlando Brown or whoever has been added to this mix or the draft picks, they immediately feel like they've been there for years.
Now, one thing about that, and I've been as hard on David Bell as anybody. I've grown to understand him a little better, I guess. I couldn't stand the way he managed it first. I'll point blank. I think he overmanaged. Still times where I think he micromanages, but the culture he creates, I think sometimes is more important than the decision he makes on the field. So I will give him credit for because there's never been a player ever that said a bad word about David Bell. They all love playing for him. And I think he needs to get more credit as to what he's helped cultivate here. Then I don't know if he's getting it or not, because he's got a bad rap in there just because he hasn't won, and he's has bad teams. And there's been times I'm like, well, what's he supposed to? Because I remember in 2021, you mentioned it earlier, we're fighting their asses off trying to get to the playoffs, and we have a gaping hole in our bullpen, and I'm like, what the hell is he supposed to do?
Right.
There's only so much he can do. And right now, he's managing his ass off. I think the way he's working the bullpen, the starters, because like I said, we had 3 of our starters go out, and what he's doing right now, it's working, Gary. And will it last? I don't know. But what's your thought on David Bell and how good or bad of a job he's done this year?
He's an amazing character and a guy of incredible character. He's just, what a guy. He's just impressive the way he conducts himself, the way he treats people, the integrity that he has. But I noticed a huge difference in Goodyear this February when he got the team. I mentioned the talent show and a 3-point contest. And some of that generated from his coaching staff, like J.R. House, and some of those guys had a big role in that too. But they made a point of that from day one. I remember because we have to wait outside where they're having these team meetings, and they can sometimes last an hour when they're first getting together and like describing, okay, here's what we're going to do this year. This is our kind of our motto, and that was kind of laid in from day one. That's when they first gathered at spring training, when they first had pitchers and catchers, and then the first full squad a few days later. Those were those meetings they were about. What are you willing to do for the team? How are you contributing today? What is your I'm trying to remember what they wrote on the whiteboard as a message, but they had something about taking personal responsibility, but for the team.
Right.
And they all said that was a great comment that Fraley made the other day. He was asked, what's it like when it's your turn? Because it's a new hero every day. Somebody
Right.
he had the big home run. And he said, I almost have more fun when it's somebody else.
Really?
Well, because he gets so happy for them.
Right. That's a
so
good thing. Yeah.
Imagine that.
Right.
And then Bell says, because Bell was on a 116-win team that won 15 in a row in Seattle and then got bounced in the first round of the playoffs. It was right after the Griffey trade.
Yeah, I remember.
So he says, I've been around some great teams. And he was talking about like taking Votto out or
Right.
having players have days off that they don't want. He says, nobody wants to come out. They think that they could do a better job than they could finish the job, or they can get the hit or run faster or whatever the situation happens to be. And he said he's been around teams, and I would imagine that was one of them, because they had some veteran players and they won. They only lost 40-something game, 116, and what would that be? 46.
Right.
So, but he's so heartened and inspired by the fact that he's got guys who will just do whatever it takes, whatever he says is best for the team, and trust that that's the right decision.
Well, and one thing I like about David Bell too, he mentioned this the other day. I think about the winning streak. I think it was where we were 11 in a row. I think his grandfather Gus was on the last time, and how and that's what I do like, that David Bell and the Bells are part of the right. I mean, the Bells are Cincinnati royalty from Gus to I grew up with Buddy, and then I watched David play. Now he's manager. I mean, they are Cincinnati royalty, baseball royalty. But to hear him talk about what it means to be on a team to win that many, last time his grandfather was on the team, that's just cool. I think. I mean, it's just, that doesn't happen every day. Not everybody has that heritage that the Cincinnati Reds have, and David Bell knows the stories. He knows. He wasn't there, but I'm sure his grandfather and his dad have told him stories about, these teams that they were on and what they're doing right now.
Yeah, he talked about that. He said, in fact, he said he had thought about it because he had heard something about that before they won that 11th game and got within one. But those 50s teams were a powerhouse. The 56 team made the World Series. Unfortunately, got swept by the Yankees, but 57 team finished at second, I think, but that 12-game win streak. Yep. But those were great. Frank Robinson, had just broken in on those teams. But he said that Grandpa Gus, the thing that he said the most about those teams was how much fun they had.
Right.
And as you mentioned earlier, winning is fun, but these guys are having a lot of it. Obviously this win streak won't go on forever.
Yeah.
But the thing that we noticed before they went on this streak and got in the first place, they were in every game.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
It was never over.
Right.
And in fact, a lot of their stuff was done in the 7th, 8th, and 9th. A game that we thought was lost.
Yep.
Suddenly the tying runs at the plate, and that happened almost every night.
Now, I got to ask you about Wild Thing. Ricky Kutcher, I think that's how you say it, or he came in. His interview with Jim Day has got to be one of the greatest ones I've ever seen in my life, because he was gone. He was not there at all. The whole dugout is full. They're all up on the rail chanting Ricky, and they dumped the water on him. He dropped the O bleep, on air.
Right.
And I have the graphic anymore? Let me see. Let's see if I have that graphic of his pitch chart. Yeah, here it is. that was his pitch chart right there. I'm like, Gary, how in the world did he even get out of that? Is ridiculous. But that's the stuff that's been happening on this team.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think definitely the moment was overwhelming for him, but I think that is Ricky Karcher. I think he's just one of those guys, who just, hey, I just like baseball. He doesn't think it out. He just goes in these old country rear back and throw it, not sure where it's going. There was no reason in the world for him to be called up in the first place. And here he finds himself in a crucial extra inning game, they had just gotten the lead, and now it's all on him.
Yeah, because Farmer,
and he's throwing it all over the place. Yeah. So I mean, that's that fits right in, right? I don't know if we'll ever see him again in the big
We might
leagues.
not. I mean, he actually. I was watching the LSU. Who was that? The college
Wake Forest last night.
Yeah, LSU at Wake Forest, and the kid who hit the home run for LSU. When they interviewed him at the end of the game, he just kind of like, "I was hunting a fastball," and I'm like, "Oh my God, it's Ricky!" He answered it kind of the same way because they were both just poof, like, "Holy crap!" They were just. I can't believe what happened. They weren't mentally there. I thought that first time when I saw the interview last night, I thought of Ricky immediately. So I just thought it was funny to just see the reactions like that. Like you had no words for what just happened, what you just accomplished. It's just
I used to do those on-field interviews for ESPN for games, and
right.
it's the unlikely, it's the unlikely heroes that give you that stuff. The Jeters or whoever, they're poised, they're used to it. Hey, I've done this 10 times before. It's the guys who, the backup catcher who hits a game-winning homer, or a guy like Karcher, who isn't even sure why he's on the staff, gets one of the big saves of the year. They're like, is this really happening?
Right.
So it's.
So that being said, what was one of the most memorable on-field interviews you've done in your career? You got one off the top of your head you can think of? You're like, this dude has no idea where he's at, or just is excited to be there, or anything like that.
I think when the Yankees beat the Braves in '96, they came back in that series, which we thought Atlanta was on its way to repeating, and then Leyritz has this, big hit, and it kind of turns the series around. Joe Girardi had a big hit in that series. That's right, Leyritz. But anyhow, so after they win, they had been in the clubhouse, and Wade Boggs is he's not only a Hall of Famer, he's a Hall of Fame drinker. And I think he had imbibed quite a bit of the ceremonial champagne.
Right.
So he came out, he didn't know exactly where he was, and he ends up riding a horse around the field at Yankee Stadium. And
I remember that.
So those are some of the most memorable are celebrations. They can be very messy, and make sure you don't wear anything you want to keep.
Also, they all wear goggles now, so they don't get the champagne in their eyes.
Exactly, yeah. But I was there before they learned that trick.
Right.
And they tend to focus on reporters, especially female reporters, with the champagne blasts and kind of like usually in good fun, but occasionally there's a Dion and Tim McCarver moment.
Yeah, I remember that. He was just dumping water all over McCarver. God rest McCarver's soul. I know he passed away here recently. Yeah. Now one thing. Now with the Reds, the way they're playing right now, and a lot of like my son, he's used to baseball station to station, trying to hit home runs and all that stuff. When I grew up in the 80s and late 70s, early 80s, it wasn't like that. You hit and run, you steal bases, it's fun, which is what this team is doing, which is what I kept complaining about for years. I'm like, nobody moves the ball. People are like, baseball's boring. I said, yeah, because everybody's standing around waiting for a 3-run homer. I'm like,
exactly.
I won't say I was against the pitch clock or any of that stuff, but geez, Gary, all of it's worked. I mean, to be honest, but it's the Reds are like that anyway. I think this is the new. I want to say new age of baseball because it's not. It's the way you should have played baseball anyway. But I think this makes it more fun and more interesting. I think it's going to start bringing people. It's bringing people back to the ballgame. It's more exciting. I mean, what's your thoughts on the way the Reds play compared to the way other teams are playing? Because I think we're second in stolen bases in baseball, I think.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. The 80s, I wasn't I hated the Cardinals, and I grew up a Cub fan. So the Cardinals were playing on that turf, and they had Coleman and McGee, and everybody on the team could run.
Yep.
And they had that AstroTurf field and those little sliding pits, so they would just pepper you to death. And they had great pitching, but this seems a little different. The one I really love is getting rid of the shift.
Yes.
Because you can they're still kind of cheating quite a bit, and you still got to be a good hitter, to beat that. But I'm amazed that just adding a couple inches, so a case onto the base,
right,
but it's not only second base it's bigger, so is first. So you're that much closer, and the Reds are just taking advantage. You wouldn't expect Jake Fraley. He doesn't expect himself to be a base stealing leader for the Reds, but I don't think that'll last that long with Ellie up. But Friedel, McLean, almost everyone in that line. Steer is kind of deceptively. He'll steal a key base here and there. Fairchild was a very fast runner when he was on the roster. Senzel can definitely steal a base. So I think Votto's may be the only Maile, Stevenson, and Casali may be the only guys you won't see taken off. And that's a great element. And the other thing, it adds excitement whenever you get a guy on. Is he going to go? That was a great thing in that college game you mentioned last night at the World Series was LSU got a guy on, and my God, that guy was so fast. And what count is he going to go on? It was a crazy play in the day game Wednesday against the Rockies. Ellie was already at second base.
Yes.
And Fraley on a hit and run, didn't get enough of it and pops up and they double him off. Another one where there's a bunt and he pops it up to the catcher and it turns into a double play because they're running. Right. But it's worth it, because more often than not it pays off and it puts so much pressure on the other team. And I've seen so many times where it takes them out of what would have been a routine double play.
Yep. Now you've been on for almost an hour. I don't want to keep it much longer, but I do want to get I appreciate all the time you've given me. But we haven't even touched on Ellie. You mentioned it a little bit there. What I think they've lost 2 games since Ellie's came up. The impact that he has. I mean, I don't remember a time where I've seen a guy, we're talking about speed here, in Houston. He hits a line shot down to first base. The first baseman dives, makes a great plays. Ellie busts his ass down the line and dives and is safe. He beats it out. He beat out an infield hit, to shortstop to score a run in Kansas City. I mean, the stuff he does, we're going to talk about the freaking home run he hit that almost hit out of the damn stadium, but the speed is people say Billy Hamilton. I'm like, yeah, but Ellie can get on base and he actually hits the ball on the ground. Billy Hamilton didn't. I mean, just the impact Ellie has had on this team. What's your thoughts on him and how good can he be?
Well, I defer to talking to Barry Larkin and Eric Davis in spring training about him when he was, just a notion. We knew he'd probably be up at some point this year. We didn't know when. And we didn't know he'd go nuts like he did after a very slow start and an injury in April. But they, and they played Eric himself, and Larkin's a Hall of Famer. They know what greatness is.
Yeah.
And they both universally said, this guy is special. I mean, he's a superstar in the making. He's not just a talent. He's not just an all-star. This guy is an all-timer because of the tools he has, but also his makeup. He's a baseball guy. He's not like some of the guys that have come up, Jazz Chisholm and Orlando. Oh God, what's his name? With the who's injured right now for the Pirates.
No,
O'Neal Cruz.
Yes. Yeah.
Although I think O'Neal Cruz has his head on a little straighter than Jeff Chisholm. Julio Rodriguez, there was, they made the world of him last year in the All-Star game, and now he's struggling to hit 250. I think that especially because he's the youngest of 9, I think Ellie has a maturity about him, along with that incredible cachet of style, and there's just something about him that just draws your attention right to him, mostly because he moves at 100 miles an hour. But
he just,
he hasn't even started to hit for power except for that one home run. The double he got the other day should have been a pop out. Talking about speed.
The home run he hit the other day should have been a pop out, and it went out and left the stadium.
So he's I can't say enough about him, and I think we're just starting to scratch the surface. And what I notice about him is how much pressure he puts on the defense. We've seen guys in the outfield hurrying throws and overthrowing bases, and that's the worst thing he can do with De La Cruz on, because he may score. He may take the next 2 bases.
Yep.
But I've seen it time and time again. Guys in the infield hurry and throws, and if they don't, he's going to be safe. So that element alone. Now wait till he starts finding the power that he truly has from both sides of the plate. And you're talking about, like I said, a generational talent.
Exactly. I mean, I call him the most electrifying man in baseball. I mean, I'm working on getting my LA jersey. I haven't gotten one yet, but that's the next one I want to get. But I mean, I'm so excited to see him play the next couple of years. The sky's the limit for him. I mean, he reminds me of, and people ask me who he reminds me of. Like, as far as Reds go, he reminds me of young Eric Davis. I mean, his body type, and now the batting stances are completely different. Now, if you remember Eric Davis, like my grandpa would always say, "Oh, Eric Davis always got hurt." I know, but do you remember 1987? Do you remember 86? He was one, if not the best player in baseball during those years.
Oh, yeah.
So, I mean, if he could have stayed healthy, he would have been a Hall of Fame player, in my opinion.
Absolutely.
Ellie is on.
But if he's a big influence on Ellie, that's why he wears 44. I mean, he's known him since he was, I think, 16 in the Dominican. He and Larkin have known him for 5 years since they first signed him.
I love that he's wearing 44. I mean, that's an iconic number around here. I mean, you got.
Yeah, I don't think he's wearing it for Adam Dunn.
no. Him and Adam Dunn, they might have the same power, but that's about
There's some contrast there.
just a little bit. Well, Gary, you've been on for an hour. I appreciate you coming on your off day. So I tell you to plug yourself, but I think everybody knows where you're at. You got anything you got anything cool coming on Channel 12 that you want to plug before I let you go, or anything like that?
Well, we'll be there every night. Chris Rankel's going to be there tonight at 4, 5, and 6 with this sellout crowd. The Bengals, we've got some great stuff coming up when camp opens at the end of July. And one of the things we did was some sit downs with Orlando Brown, Ted Karras, Miles Murphy, and DJ Reader. Long extended interviews in which we can ask them about non-football stuff, and some great little nuggets came out of that. Those are coming up that opening week of camp, and also in our preseason special that we do with the Bengals, which is a great contribution because they have access to so much stuff, including the NFL film stuff. And then I guess the other would be, I'm just looking forward to, it's hard not to be there tonight. Maybe I'll change my mind and Chris and I will work together, but it's just going to be amazing to watch this weekend. But the one I'm really curious about is next Friday.
Yes.
I don't think moving the game up an hour is going to be enough. And those cross-firing Reds sellout Friday night fireworks and Taylor Swift at Paycor Stadium crowds.
Oh.
It's going to be a madhouse. Get there at noon.
You're right. You might get there at noon. You might get in by the time the game starts, and you might get home by noon the next day because it's going to be crazy down there. I mean, I'm going on vacation. I'm leaving tomorrow, so I won't be here. I'll be watching on TV somewhere. But yeah, it's going to be nuts down there. I mean, I love the Banks, but I want no part of being down there next weekend. It's going to be just crazy. Anyway, Gary, I appreciate you coming on. Let's say, hey, if you ever need another extra guy on Channel 12, you can always hit me up. I'll be glad to jump on for you.
We'd love to have you.
Nice, Gary. Appreciate you, man. Take it easy.
Anytime. Good spending time with you.
See ya. All right, guys. I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did. Gary is an awesome dude. Like I said, he was trying to come on earlier this week. Had to go do his job, but he was nice enough to come on his off day and spend an hour talking to me about the Reds, which is, like I said, I think they're the most exciting team in baseball right now. It's going to be a lot of fun tonight. If you want tickets, there are only single seats left available. So, I mean, it's a madhouse. It's going to be a lot of fun. And I will be watching it tonight. I'm not leaving until tomorrow, but this is my last show before I go on vacation. Like I said, if the Bengals or anything cool happens, I might go live from my phone on vacation. Who knows? If they sign Joe Burrow, I'm definitely going to go live, but we'll see what happens. Anyway, just want to give a shout out to the Facebook groups that let me live stream, and I appreciate every single one of them. They are Houday Nation, Houday Legion, Bearcat Ruckus, Radical Reds, the Ohio State Bucknuts, the Ice Bar, and then you follow me on all my social media platforms, all under Sports with Strawberry Ice. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. Twitter handle is at Jeff A. Trenopole. TikTok is at Iceman90. I will be pulling out the sound later on tonight putting on the podcast on BeanPod, Apple iTunes, Spotify, Google, Stitcher Play, pretty much wherever you get your podcast. Please make sure you rate, like, and review. Leave a 5-star review so more Cincinnati fans can find my podcast. YouTubers, you guys are awesome. 2,226 subscribers. I appreciate every single one of you guys. If you're watching Facebook or Twitter, please subscribe to the channel. If you can help me out, just tweet the show out, share it on Facebook, share the podcast out, because the only way anybody finds out about me is because of you guys. That's the only reason I get to interview guys like Gary Miller, or I've had Ted Karras on, and I've gotten to talk to Chris Welch, just Dan Hoare. Just the list of people I've gotten to talk to is awesome, and it's all because you guys watch and you guys share it and you guys tell everybody about it. So I appreciate you guys, honestly, from the bottom of my heart. Like I said, 2,226 subscribers. I love you guys. I'll see you after my vacation. Maybe I might come on. You have to wait and see, but subscribe. Other than that, that's your sports, baby. See ya!